Balance Doctor. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Be sure to subscribe to The Kim Jacobs Show right on YouTube. Turn on your notification bell to all so you never miss a beat. And guess what? Every time you watch, you're going to receive a real relevant and relatable guest that's going to share with you a piece of the puzzle on this journey called life that will help you be able to manage just a little bit smoother. At the end of the day, the Kim Jacobs Show goal is to be able to provide balance to the world, one household at a time.
Kim Jacobs Show. You're watching Kim Jacobs Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. And we have Terry Brinston with us here today. How are you, Terry?
I'm amazing. Good morning to you.
You are amazing. I can just feel it permeating all the way through the screen, all the way from Michigan to Charlotte. She's visiting in with us today in the virtual studio audience from the Michigan area. How's the weather out there?
Cold.
Well, it's been cold here in Charlotte too, Terry, believe it or not. It actually was some ice out when I let my dog out a little earlier this morning.
Okay.
He went sliding off the patio. I was like, whoa. I said, okay, you're going to have to be on your own out there this morning, baby. But he was sliding around out there.
Well, that's a common thing here in Michigan.
I know.
Absolutely.
Do you have snow and stuff there too?
We do. Snow and ice, and I have a short sleeve shirt on because I am menopausing, but I want to kind of keep my makeup together. So I said, okay, let me take my jacket off. But no, it is snowing and icy and all of that good stuff.
That's so funny that you would say that, Terry, because right before we went live, you noticed my 6'4" son was walking around, and I was like, and cut the heat, turn that heat down. Do you see I'm on a whole turtleneck? So I had to tell him, turn that down. I'm going to be totally flashing on this show today. Yeah. So I can relate. It's like I can feel you over there. I can feel it. Oh my goodness. And people just don't understand. If you have not been through menopause or you're not premenopausal, then you're looking at us all weird and like, I can't believe she's sweating like that. I can't believe she's, it's like, girl, wait till you get there. Yeah. You will totally have more empathy. Right?
Definitely. I had to apologize to my mom.
Me too. I'm like, Mom, now I see why you wanted to get like completely just relaxed and free, Anyway. All right, everybody. Listen, today we're talking with Terry Brinston. We're going to be talking about some affirmations and things that you can use, but I want to make sure that you know that we're going to hear about her journey as she has gone through COVID-19 and has lived to tell about it. So I want everyone to go ahead and tag everybody. Don't worry about whether you know them or not. Take 30 seconds and just any names that pop up in your feed, tag them because they need to hear this story. Mm-hmm. There are over 700,000 people that are not here to share their journey through COVID. Mm-hmm. You know that, right? And with that being the case, this young lady is here to share her harrowing journey and how she's gotten to the other side and is now here to talk to us about it. So go ahead and tag. You can tag your friends right quick, Terry, too. I'm going to give everybody about 30 seconds and let's see how many people we can tag. Once you get in, let us know where you're visiting in from. And also be sure to share this. Share it over to your friend circle as well. Let's do that now. How many people did you get to tag? I can't tag that many.
A lot.
You tagged a lot. Okay. I be rolling, trying my best. I'm like, come on, Kim. And all of these names come up and I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter. Just tag them. All right. Listen, everybody. We're going to be talking with Terry Brinston today. And I want to make sure that you get a chance to learn who this dynamic woman is that we have in the studio audience. She is a registered nurse, teacher, motivational speaker, life coach, consultant, aspiring, well, she's also an author at this point, who thrives to help people achieve their goals in life. Reflecting on her own journey through her trials, she's gaining newfound, and it's interesting how we gain a newfound admiration for life after we experience some different things. So we're going to talk about what that looks like from her as she is healed from COVID-19. And she is also the author of Grateful for the Journey, Surviving COVID-19, and what it teaches us about life through her book. So I want to take this opportunity to introduce this wonderful daughter, mother, wife, sister, friend, and CEO, Terry Brinston, to the Kim Jacobs Show. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so humbled to be before you and your guests. So thank you for having me.
I'm equally as humbled that you just are a bright light, I can tell, and you're a beautiful, bright joy that
Thank
you bring
you.
to the world. So I'm excited about it. I know that some of the topics that you talk about are social impact of the pandemic, the physical complications of COVID-19, how to discover your purpose, spiritual gifts, mental health, supporting youth and young adults, and also dealing with learning disabilities. So some of these are the topics. We could have went in any direction in this interview. I was like, oh my goodness, this woman is a wealth of knowledge. So today I think that we're going to primarily talk about your book, being grateful for the journey. And let's find out as we start, why did you decide to even name your book Grateful for the Journey? Talk to us about that.
Amen. Well, the name really I actually came up with the title after I wrote the book. And so it just reflected how I was feeling while I was writing the book. I was just so grateful to have come through, and also the opportunities that the Lord allowed me to experience while I was going through what I went through. And so I didn't originally, it wasn't originally supposed to be a book. I had a lot of memory loss. I had brain damage from COVID. I was in the hospital for 30 days, 29 days, and I was on the vent, which, the machine breathed for me because my lungs were so damaged, I couldn't breathe. And so I was on a ventilator for 15 days. And so when I came out of the hospital, I had lost a lot of memory. I couldn't remember a lot of my colleagues. I couldn't remember, just close short-term memory was impacted drastically. And I didn't really know what my long-term damage was. So my doctor recommended that I started to journal, to kind of really reflect on my life and who I was, and just really kind of measure what I remembered and what I didn't. And so I started off by looking at my resume, and I was confused. I was thinking, this lady is confused, because I was a cosmetologist, I became an RN, and then I was a teacher, and then a business owner. And it's like, how in the world? So anyway, through that process of trying to remember me and my life, I ended up creating this journal. And my husband said, you need to publish it. So that was not my intent, was not to publish it. It was just something that it was very therapeutic that I went through to really connect with me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So really it was a personal way for you to reconnect back with yourself.
Correct.
And as you were trying to just figure out the pieces of your own life and saying, hey, okay, let me pull this piece back into my life. Let me pull this piece back into my memory bank. And creating and rebuilding yourself, you were able to create this grateful journal.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And so that's why I connect COVID to it, because I never would have written it if I hadn't gone through COVID-19. And so as I was writing, I was able to really connect to the fact that, man, I saw the threads of how the Lord truly orchestrated every aspect of my life to bring me to where I was and where I am today. Opening doors, closing doors, redirecting me. And, as you are going through your life, my feelings as I was reconnecting with them was, man, I'm being punished, or why is this happening to me? But I
Wow.
was able to really clearly see that God was guiding my path. For sure.
I talk about that actually in a book that I'm writing right now, that
Mhm.
some of the things that we go through in our lives, God obviously knows that these are
Right,
different seasons that we will encounter or
right.
experience, even though they look pretty extreme,
Mhm.
and it doesn't mean that we are out of balance or out of sync or out of the will of God. It's just that
Mhm.
that's the season that we're going through at this time.
Right.
And I am really grateful to hear that what you're saying today,
Mhm,
that
mhm,
God had you where he had you,
mhm.
and you were grateful for it, even though at the time you didn't realize, you thought you were being punished. you
Right,
know
right. Yeah.
that's an interesting philosophy, because I think all of us
Mhm.
feel that, did I do something? Is
Right.
it me, or is it the past? I need to know. I need some confirmation. I need whatever. So I think that we all have experienced that, Terry, in
Right.
some aspect of our lives. Now, how did you even find out that did you just have basic symptoms? Take us through your COVID journey, and you can take us through that right after we come back from this commercial break.
Right.
Listen, everybody, we're talking with Terry Brinston today. She's sharing her experience as she's gone through COVID. She already said been in the hospital for 29 days, memory loss, and all kinds of things associated with that, on a ventilator. So this is not your story of, I had it, I just had some basic symptoms. She
Mhm.
was all the way near death's door. When
Amen.
we come back, we're going to hear more about her COVID story of how she triumphed through this experience. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I'm attorney Kenneth D. Snow, and at the Snow Legal Group, justice is our job.
For more than 20 years, Attorney Snow has been fighting for justice and winning cases in the Carolinas by providing aggressive representation in criminal defense, domestic violence, family law, serious injury, and wrongful death. If you've been injured or lost a loved one in an accident, including tractor trailer or rideshare, you need the Snow Legal Group by your side, fighting for justice and fighting for you. Visit snowlegal.com. Call 704-358-0026 for a free virtual consultation. Located at 6827 Fairview Road, Suite D in South Park.
Wow. Okay, we are back, and we're back with Terry Brinston, and she's going to take us through how she even found out that she had COVID, and how did it get to ventilator status, and now she's here with a tank dress on, sharing her story of triumph. So talk to us.
Amen. Amen. Actually, I was in Michigan. I live in Michigan, and in March, when it first came out, this is when I got sick. I actually had just returned from a student-led conference with over 5,000 youth, and we came back. I took my students on an event because I am a high school teacher. And when we came back the following what week, that following Friday, that's when we got notice from our school district that they were closing the school.
Wow.
And so for COVID, and then that very following Tuesday, I'm thinking I'm gonna have a coronacation, right?
Right.
I'm excited. I'm off of work. I'm like, oh yes. And it was right before spring break. But that following Tuesday, I started having severe joint pain, and I didn't have a cough or anything, but it was just joint pain. So
Hmm.
I never experienced anything like that, and I'm thinking, what is going on? I'm thinking, am I coming down with the flu? But I had
Right.
been hearing, just back then it wasn't that many confirmed symptoms that they were reporting to us, so I didn't really
Right.
know what to look for.
Hmm.
But the key thing was the temperature. And so my fever just kept, I never really had a fever before. When I get sick, I never get fevers. But anyway, for this particular situation, I started to get a fever. So my temp was about 100.1. And then it started getting higher and higher and higher. And I reached out to one of my colleagues who happens to be a paramedic, and he works for the city of Detroit. And I was telling him what I was going through. And he
Okay.
said, go to the hospital
Hmm.
right now. And so we went to the hospital, and it looked, because I'm a nurse, so I've been to hospitals and worked in
Right.
local hospitals, but nobody could go in the hospital, and it was just this line of people, cars outside, everybody in their isolation gear. And I'm thinking, that looks like a movie. And they had tents on the outside. The military was there. And then, it was just these lines of people, and they came to you with these clipboards, and it's like, what is going on?
Right. This is
And
like massive
this is
warfare, it looks like.
It was crazy. And we were in that line. But anyway, I eventually had an opportunity to go into the emergency room. My husband couldn't come in. And I talk about that a lot in my book. But anyway, I was diagnosed with COVID, and I was feeling fine other than the joint pain. And then by the next day, when I was admitted in the hospital, I couldn't breathe without the oxygen. It just kept getting worse and worse. No, I couldn't do any activity. And then
nobody was with you, just you.
Nobody was with me. And that's the thing that I don't think people realize how isolating it was.
Yes.
I couldn't, my husband would call and say, breathe and eat. And I'm like, I didn't have any appetite. It was just horrible, just being there by myself. And of course, I got worse and worse, and they had to ask me if I would give them consent to put me on the ventilator. Yeah. And so at that point, I'm thinking I could die, So it was a very, I don't know, it was very difficult. Like I said, being a nurse, I've been in the hospital several times for different issues, but this was the first time that I was there by myself in my own thoughts. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have anybody to bounce it off of, or someone to hug me and say it's going to be okay. So all of that, I don't think that we really, as a society, recognize how horrible it is to be alone in a situation like that.
Right.
Anyway, progressively got worse and was on the vent. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
That you know what? When I as I'm visualizing, because I haven't had COVID and haven't been in nowhere near that kind of situation, but I'm trying to visualize. You're there, you're alone, except for you and God. Amen. And the nurses and the doctors. Did the people, because I don't know, you all can ask any questions you all have, but I know a question that's ran through my mind many times over. Were the people compassionate and really caring that were in the hospital staff? Did they really attend to you as if you were like family, or did they kind of say, you know what, you're a number and we got to keep it moving type of thing?
Well, I will say that you could sense their fear.
Okay.
Because I think that, at that point, people didn't really know what was going on. They just knew that people got it, they got on the vent, and they died. And so I think that what I sensed, and I think I had a different perspective because I can understand it as a healthcare worker, is that, they were fearful. They didn't want to be in the room very long. So, coming in the room and having the mask on and the shields and having all this isolation gear was very crippling, I think, for them in the beginning, because this is new, especially for a nurse or healthcare workers not used to wearing that amount of gear, during their entire shift, so it was very difficult. It was hot, so I sensed, I think I was a little bit more concerned about them than, really paying attention if they were concerned about me. I just felt for them because they were fearful, and you could see it.
That's interesting because I have 3 children with cystic fibrosis, right? And so that's a lung disease. And the thing is, whenever any of them, if they have to be in the hospital, then people automatically have to gear up because they can't bring in certain germs and things from the outside, because a basic germ could really cause them to have pneumonia and have major lung difficulties. And so it's interesting because I've been used to people suiting up and coming in to, not because they're contagious to the physicians, but because the physicians are going from room to room and they need to make sure that they don't give anything to the child that has this particular ailment.
I don't think that it's not the fact that they, we are trained to be able to do isolation, but when you add fear to it, that's a whole another level, and people deal with it
Yes.
in such different ways. So
Wow.
I think that that level of being fearful and unknown of the unknown, it add to the stress level of the healthcare workers. And then to imagine back in the beginning, there were so many people, like I said, on the outside of the hospital, lines and lines and lines of people in the car, and all of these new protocols that they had to go through.
Yes.
It's just a whole nother level that I don't think really people are, thinking about.
Well, Terry, did it really cross your mind, or was it not a thought at all
Mhm.
that you would possibly die?
Oh, absolutely. I think when the doctor told me that I was going to go on a vent, that's when I really connected to that. And I actually immediately called my sister-in-law. She's a nurse practitioner, and her husband is a neurologist.
Okay.
And I had to have a conversation with someone because I couldn't comprehend it because I couldn't breathe. And I was like, okay, I need to talk to somebody who knows. Should I go on the vent? I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
That's
And
a
so,
lot of life-altering decisions at
yeah,
that right on the
right.
spot.
Absolutely. And they didn't give me very long. They just let me know that the direction I was going to, quickly take me to that direction where I had to make a decision. So they wanted to have that conversation with me before they made the decision. But anyway, I did have an opportunity to call my sister-in-law, and when I said to her, I said, can I die? And she just immediately got quiet and started crying, and she gave the phone to my brother-in-law. And I for the life of me, I can't remember what he said, but whatever he said gave me peace to recognize that I was going to be okay. And I decided, of course, talked to my husband, and I told the doctor that when it gets to that point that I would consent. Yeah.
That's good.
Mhm.
So now you consent, you go on the ventilator. At that point, describe the ventilator process, if you even know what it is now
Well,
that you've already experienced it?
yeah. Well, what they do is they insert a tube down your throat, and it goes to your lungs. You have a lot of different monitoring devices that's placed on you. I had a needle in my neck to help with oxygenation and things like that. So I'm unconscious, during this process. And so the machine is actually breathing for me. So the way that the nurse explained it to my husband, which I thought was amazing, and she said, her lungs need to rest because I did develop pneumonia, and I had some damage in my left lung, and so my lungs needed to rest. And so as my lungs were healing, they were giving my lungs an opportunity to heal. The machine just breathed for me. And so the idea is that my lung would heal and start to feel better, and then that way that they can take me off the ventilator. But that took 15 days. And so there's always a lot of different risks when you are on a ventilator, because you can have organ failure.
Anything.
And so a lot of times people, it's not an uncommon thing, but when people go on the vent, that they have different complications. And so glory to God, I did not. None of my organs failed, and I was able to be weaned off the vent. Mhm.
Oh, you don't know how huge that is. That's like huge.
Wow.
Thank you, Lord. That's huge.
Amen.
Woo!
My
Wow.
sister-in-law took a picture of me on the vent, and I'm just like, oh, I'm just, I still kind of look at it from the outside looking in. For a while I couldn't look at the picture, but then I said, you know what? Let me just see what the Lord has done. You know what I'm saying? When you can kind of just see. But yeah.
And look what he's done. He's brought you here today to share your story and your journey. Listen, everybody, we're talking with Terry Brinston. And yes, it is a moment of celebration because this woman is here to share her incredible journey as she has gone through 29 days of staying in the hospital on a ventilator. She was on a ventilator, near-death experience with COVID. COVID-19, and now she has written a book entitled Grateful for the Journey. Everyone, make sure you get a copy of this book. How do people get copies of your book so we can tell them early on so they can get it immediately?
Absolutely. It's on Amazon. It's also on Barnes and Nobles. It's an Audible. So you can, if you're the kind of person you just like to listen to something, it's on Audible. And so it's available. Yeah.
Yes, make sure you all grab a copy of her book, and you don't want to miss that opportunity. You can also go to terrybrinston.com. You can email her at hello@terrybrinston.com, and her phone number is 734-992. Uh-oh, I didn't put a number. I missed the number. That's why I need these glasses. 721 what? What's your phone number?
Oh, my business phone number is 7211.
7211. I missed a number over there. All right, everybody, let's go back again. It's the Kim Jacobs Show. Is bringing balance to the world one household at a time, with Terry Brinston today, talking about recovering from COVID-19 and getting through this pandemic, sharing her book, Grateful for the Journey, how she survived COVID-19. terrybrinston.com. hello@terrybrinston.com. For the audio podcast listeners, and Terry is spelled Terri, since you're not seeing the broadcast. It's hello@terrybrinston.com. Her phone number is 734-992-7211. And that's how you can stay connected with Terry. Right after this commercial break, I would like to find out how the pandemic kind of pushed you into your purpose. Let's talk about that right after this break, okay?
Yes, thank you.
It's not just another day, it's a brand new day, full of all the fun, love, and laughter you and your family create. Silver Shield Security understands feeling at home means feeling safe and happy. No credit checks, no contracts. We offer payment arrangements, and we'll even give you a free door camera. Find out how we can brighten your day even more at silvershield-security.com. Silver Shield Security.
Everyone, and we are back. We're back with Terry Brinston. Talk to us now, Terry, about how this whole pandemic pushed you into your destiny, kind of.
Amen. You know, one of the things that I think this pandemic has done is just made me so grateful. So many people did not survive, and for a long time, after I came from the hospital, I had survivor's guilt. You know, I was thinking, like, why was I, spared? Because, when I went into the hospital, the world was normal, right? I'm hanging out with girlfriends and my husband, and, people were coming and going. But when I got out of the hospital, we had this shutdown and schools were closed. And, I had never in my lifetime seen anything like this. And so looking at, I think my husband was telling me about how entire families were dying, and that they didn't have enough room for the bodies, and they were making these, makeshift refrigerated units for the bodies, and it just overwhelmed me.
It overwhelmed me.
And I really prayed and asked God, why did you spare me? And going back to the fact that a lot of things has happened in my life where I thought I was being punished, or maybe I did something wrong, or I had a learning disability when I was young. I had thyroid cancer. I had a lot of different issues, and I used to say, man, why life has to be so hard for me?
Right.
And so connecting with that, I recognized that, okay, he kept me around for a reason, and I need to be obedient. And so COVID for me made me realize that time is very precious.
Yes, it is.
And that Lord has given me so many gifts. And of course, I've tried to be obedient by utilizing my gift, but I never really told my story. And I've never publicly is about my learning disabilities and about different things that I do and how I help young people. So it definitely has impacted me in that way, for sure.
Good. Well,
Mhm.
I'm grateful, and I'm grateful that you're finally sharing your story. And I hope that you will go across the globe sharing your story. I know a lot of talk show hosts, so I'm going to be referring you to other shows.
Thank
So
you.
you might as well get your interview mindset ready, because this right here is some great stuff that you're sharing with people. Okay,
Thank you. Well, you
and
make
it's
it
really
so easy for me to share, Kim. So I hope you refer me to people like you.
Oh, thank you so much. Listen, you're a blessing, and you opening up at this level is going to help so many people as we continue to try to bring balance to this world. The only way we can do it is through guests like yourself, being able to come on, being transparent, sharing your journey in hopes of being able to help somebody else that has a piece of the puzzle that's like looking like it's all over the place, and you helping to bring that thing back into sync in their lives. So thank you for being here today to even open up at this level.
Thank
Now,
you.
talk to us too about your career
Mhm.
and why are you so passionate about that
Mhm.
particular type of career? Because you have a lot of different hats that you wear, but you
Yeah.
have an educational and a career journey, and I love to hear
Right.
both.
Yeah. Well, it's so, and that's why, I really talk about that in the book, how the Lord really used all of this confusion in my career path, to bring me to education. And I
Right.
actually teach a health occupation program. I introduce students to the medical field.
Oh,
And that's
wonderful. Okay.
a vocational program. And so what I found, I've been teaching for 24 years. What I found over the years is that I saw me, meaning I saw students who had barriers that really prevented them from being successful in my classroom. And so what I started to do is really address those barriers first,
Right.
those self-limiting beliefs. And so when they walked in my class, they were able to leave the world out in the world. And I was able to really help them to see their worth, help
Good.
them to recognize that they can be anything they want, um,
Anything.
anything. And so
Anything.
that was put together a program. I developed a program, different strategies, different modules to support self-limiting belief,
Good.
cognitive behavior therapy, and shared my story. I never shied away from sharing my story, meaning my learning disability story, with my students. I never shared it with adults, but
Well,
I always shared it
before
with
you get off of this show, we definitely want to hear it for sure too.
right,
I know we heard the COVID, but we
right,
want to hear about the learning disability too,
yeah,
because there are a lot of parents that are watching this
yeah.
show with children that have learning disabilities, and you are going to be a ray of hope and light for them. So I definitely want to make sure that happens today too. Go
Amen.
ahead.
Well, through that process with me teaching my students, I recognize that my students are not the only ones that need to deal with self-limiting beliefs and dealing with getting rid of those subconscious beliefs that they have about their self that really prevents them from walking out their purpose. And
Yes.
so I started really working with other schools and other young people. So I started a nonprofit. It's Nurturing Wellness Group Foundation. And what I do is I work with young people who have barriers that prevent them from being successful. And it's a module and a group coaching. And I do that on the side of working full time. Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you. And again, ask your own questions, studio audience. What I'll do is I'll come and do a flash round in a minute just so I can make sure that we don't get too far along in the interview and don't give you the opportunity to ask some questions pertaining to COVID or pertaining to what she's talking about with her teaching career and the learning disabilities. Go ahead and start putting your comments, questions, thoughts, and I'll just do a flash round in a few minutes here. So go ahead and start doing that. But let me ask you, Terry, when it comes to children and as parents, how do you know if it's a child that has like a learning disability or if they just trying to get on your nerves? I don't know if the right wording. I'm a mom of 5, so I'll be like, which one is it? They don't know
You're a
learning disability
realist.
where you get the tail over there. Come on.
That's called being a realist, and I understand that for sure. I have 2 boys myself, and that question has appeared. But what I do is I set up a program where it's it has different phases, and the first phase is the awareness phase, where I look at different flags that I identify. So you're looking at, okay, attendance issues, looking at behavior changes, you're looking at different
I'm going to type some of these. So if you see me looking over to the right, I'm just going to type some of what you're saying because I want to make sure we capture this. You said attendance,
behavior. So behavior is very broad. So if you're starting to see them being more withdrawn, you start to see changes in their grades. You start to see different things. If they're tardy a lot or not coming to school on a regular basis. So we're looking at this on the lens of an educator. But as a parent, for sure, we know our children, making sure that you really pay attention to the changes. And I think a lot of times we blame it on puberty, being in school, but you really have to pay attention to the changes and have a conversation with your child.
Okay. So attendance issue, behavior issues, changes in grades, tardiness, pay attention to the changes that happen in your children. To determine if there's a learning disability.
Or to determine if they need support. Because what I do after we recognize that this is an issue, sometimes we ignore it, right? We're just like, you need to study more, or you need to, go to tutoring, and we just kind of pass it on. But what really needs to happen, and this is what I do, is I have the students to meet with me and we do an interview and I ask specific questions, and then I can get to the point where, what specifically are you dealing with? Some friends issues? Are you dealing with, what is going on? And there's a whole spectrum of questions you can ask to just make sure you cover your bases. Now, of course, they're not going to tell you everything.
No,
that's
the thing. We can't read their minds.
Right. But what it is going to do is let them know that you're paying attention.
Okay.
It's going to let them know that you're paying attention and that you care. But then once we recognize that a student has flagged in these certain areas, they start my program. And so my program takes them through developing an intention for your life. Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? And it's not really a job related, but really, what kind of life do you want to have?
Right.
And so this is the life. This is your intention. Now, does your habits and your action allow you to reach that intention? And so once we recognize that this is where they want to go and this is where they want to be, if they are struggling with something, then they want to get help because they're trying to get to a certain point in their life. And that's where I was as a young person with a reading disability. I wanted to be a nurse. That's where I wanted to go. But I was shy. I couldn't read. I was very very low self-esteem. And I recognized that my personality and my reality did not match with my intention. And so once I was able to really connect to the fact that that's where I wanted to go, but my current reality was so totally different, I was more apt to ask for help. And
okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And I mean, I see all of the comments coming in, and we're going to go to a lot of these comments right now because I do want to give you a chance to address some of the things that they're sharing along this conversation. So let me look. Oh, Angeline Hill said, look, I am clueless. Sorry, ladies. Menopause, she said, I'm clueless. Well, I don't know. What did you talk about?
I hope you
Are you clueless, Angeline? Angeline Hill actually has a show too called Sip and Chat. So Angeline, here's another great guest for your show as well. Definitely connect the two of you. She has a great show as well. I'd love to, I'm sure, have you on. Listen, let's see. Oh, good morning. I see you. Good morning, Angeline, Pastor Angeline Hill. Let's see here. Some other comments that's come in. CTR Enterprise Network and Friends says, hello, and glad to have you in the virtual studio audience today. And yes, she does have a powerful story. Absolutely. Please don't deprive anybody of the opportunity to hear this woman's story today. I don't care if you start a watch party later, if you tag some people and say this is a must watch, do something to invite people to hear this wonderful story of triumph is what's
Right.
happening here
That
today.
is Coach Tina. Very good from CTR.
Yes, Tina, glad to have you here today. Oh, LaShonda Beatty says, this is good information. Very good. Thank you so much for sharing this information. Angela Hill says, how do you get a parent to accept the fact that possibly the child has a learning disability? A parent will often go into denial, which prevents any help that an outsider can provide. You want to speak to that question?
Well, I would like to say that I am not a special ed teacher. And so that's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is to recognize that there's an issue. Child is not thriving. So when you get to the point where your child is not thriving and you recognize that there's some, and it may not be a learning disability, it may be that they just learn different and they need additional help and they need additional support. And so, with that, you recognize that, what, maybe my child is not functioning at the level that I think that they need to be functioning, or maybe they may be functioning normally. But I think we have a lot of expectations, as we should, for our children. And so, be proactive, ask the question, talk to a teacher or talk to someone, a counselor, or someone who can help guide you or test your child so that you can identify what's going on.
I'm grateful that you're saying that. And one of the key things that I'm taking away from what you're saying is that they may not have a learning disability, but they just may learn differently. Right. And so they may need a different environment. They may need a different type of teaching style or tutoring, whatever the case may be. I love what you're saying here. This is very helpful.
Absolutely. And I think that was one of the things that I didn't think I was capable of learning. And I think what we do is we recognize that there's some barriers that our children may have, and we label them as incapable of, and so that may not be the issue. They may just need some additional support. And so recognizing that as a parent and not ignoring it, getting the help, asking the questions, asking your counselors at the school, asking, maybe they need counseling, maybe there's dealing with different resources you need to connect them with. But first is, recognizing what is the problem. And that's what I do through my program is I help the student to take ownership.
Good.
I need help. I'm struggling with this. And I know that my struggle is going to prevent me from going where I need to go. And so once we go through this program, I help the student develop their voice. I help them to really find the words, because I think one of the things that I struggled with the most when I was a young person is I couldn't find the words to explain that it's not that I don't know this stuff, it's that I'm struggling with trying to comprehend it. Help me to figure it out. And so anyway, that's one of the things that I try to help young people do, and also talk to parents about. It's very scary. We get one opportunity to raise our children.
That's
one.
And,
oh my God, just one. And it's like, when it's very, I don't know. I don't think people understand who don't have children. it's especially mom. It's like I get one opportunity. I want to make sure that I set my child up to be the best that he can be, but also recognizing that I can't put my expectations on him totally, because he may not want them, or there may, it may not be his desire.
That's what I tell my children that all the time. Listen, if you want to go to college, great. If you don't, great. It's not like my love for you is going to change and be, I love the one that goes to college more than the one that didn't go to college. It's okay. Whatever God's will is for your life. I support you as your mother, and I'm on this journey with you to help you become the best version of yourself. And that's so important to me. I know dealing with children sometimes, and I've heard this from many friends as well, that sometimes they're not as challenged in certain school situations and certain environments. How do you deal with that with your wellness program as well?
Well, I truly believe it takes a village. And so, and you're not going to find the perfect situation in each school system. And so knowing that there is so many programs out there that is doing the thing. You know, there's tutors, there's support systems, there are mentor programs. And
That's
so
right.
what I like to do is when I take my students through my program, I call it phase 4. When I recognize that they need support in a particular area, then I refer them to organizations that I know that does that. I don't try to oh, maybe I can add that to my business. No, I focus on what I focus on. And then I like to, to have an opportunity to vet the different organizations, make sure they have quality, and then I kind of turn them over, but then I stay connected. I'm like,
right. So you
take
don't
care
just
of
turn
my
them over and leave them, but you turn them to someone that's capable of handling that particular area of expertise.
Yeah.
And you're just the liaison, the bridge to get them there. I love that. That's what I'm doing here on the Kim Jacobs Show, everybody, by the way. I'm not the expert on everything. I cannot be the expert on everything. So hence, that's why I'm encouraging you all. And let me just put it again. If you all have not supported the Kim Jacobs Show through your online financial contributions, make sure you take a moment to do so, because this is the only way we can have this program, original program content. You're not seeing it anywhere else. Great guests like Terry Brinson, who's coming on here and sharing some life-changing information. Go ahead and support the program. It's just like how PBS or CBN and different networks, they all require community support. That's what we require here in order to be able to provide you this type of content daily, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're bringing a new guest on to share with you something that's going to help better your life. So make sure that you pour into the broadcast and allow us to continue to thrive as we bring balance to the world, one household at a time. Oh, wow. I'm impressed with what you're sharing here, Terry. I encourage you all to subscribe as well on our YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Now, in this environment, I'm trying to think of one question that I had for you is, how did your learning disability impact your commitment to education? Because you're like super committed, but it seems like it was kind of rooted in your learning disability. Talk to us about that.
Once I got very present to the fact that I wanted to be a nurse, I really dove into education.
Okay.
Like I took as many classes that I could take. I took so many English classes. I have a minor in English. And so it was because I just wanted my new way of being. I wanted to be respected. I wanted to so it was that desire and that drive in me. It was planted, of course, by my family, my father, but I just was so driven. But I recognized that I was still very self-conscious about my inabilities, right? So I never registered through school as a special ed student because I didn't want anybody to know my secret. And so I was so embarrassed by it. But I recognized as I started getting older that I needed to help young people not feel like that.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like I never wanted nobody to know. I didn't want anybody to know my secret other than kids.
Interesting.
And so that was my little secret. And I was over the youth ministry at my church, and I had an opportunity to really pour into the young people. I have a young woman, her name is Robin Wilson. And I just remember she was the first person that I really shared.
Wow.
That I was a special ed student, and she was struggling with reading. Well, she didn't want to read while we were in church. And she ran out of the room, and I went and caught her, and I said, well, what's going on? And she said, Miss Brinson, I can't read. And she was the first person I shared it with. I was like, well, I struggled with the same thing. And she's a powerful speaker right now and just doing amazing things. But it was that point, it was so ironic, and just how the Lord works. She shared with me that was the first time she found that she shared with an adult that she had an issue. And that was the first time I shared with anyone.
With a child, with anybody, not even a child or an adult.
So it was just amazing how the Lord had just placed us in each other's life. But it was at that point that I recognized that, you know what, I need to speak with more children like Robin.
That's
right. Sure.
That's such an endearing story. And you know what? As I'm talking to you, Terry, I can just think so much more clearly. I don't know if that's the right grammar, but anyway, I can think clearly about how I can actually talk to one of my children about some things. And it's not, I don't believe it's a learning disability, but I think I can just have more compassion surrounding the conversation now after hearing what you shared about your story. So this has been extremely helpful, even just to me personally. You all want to know some things that just help Kim Jacobs too, as an expert of the Kim Jacobs show and all of that. Guests like Terry Brinston, that's who's helping even in my own household. I love what you're sharing, and it's going to give me an open conversation that has a whole lot of different, a lot more empathy.
Yeah.
And a lot more compassion because I had you on the show today.
Thank you.
I'm going to have I'm literally going to engage in the discussion very differently with a different frame of mind. Expecting I don't even know what to expect, but the point is, I believe that the outcome will be that, oh, for once, this chick, my mama, really gets it, and she does care enough to hear what I'm saying, and maybe I'll open up a little bit more.
Right.
Thanks to Terry Brinston.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
All right, everybody. Listen, when we come back, we're going to hear, I want to just hear from you too about your book, Grateful for the Journey. And I want to hear what the message is that you want people to take away from your book as we prepare to get ready to close out today's episode. Also want to make sure that I go to some more of these studio audience comments. Let me see what you all are saying here. WOWL. Oh, great. You're going to use some whole abbreviations. I don't know. What is, come on, Angeline. Now I got to pull up on my phone. What is W? Wait a minute.
No.
You're going to do that to me? I tell the kids all the time, I say, y'all can do all that LOL and all that stuff, laugh your face off and all of that, but you better make sure you know Jesus and laugh your face off, you don't make it in heaven. That's what I'm saying. They be like, huh? I got some abbreviations for you. Okay, let's see. What is WOWL? You're going to do that to me. What is the abbreviation? What does it mean? You know, I don't know what it means.
I have no idea. I think she put woo. Maybe she meant woo and didn't mean to put the L on it. I don't know. Share with us, Miss Hill.
Abbreviation. Y'all, somebody help me. What in the world?
Let me see if anybody commented.
Okay, I don't know. Well, anyway, maybe not a disability, but learns differently. That's power. Probably just saying, wow. Angeline, don't play with me on my show. Now you got my glasses on. I'm up here checking out abbreviations. Rose Slade said that this is extremely insightful. And Cynthia Boss Lady, I'm so glad that you're on, Cynthia. God bless you. Wow, that is a powerful statement. Powerful statement, she said. Cynthia is from the Newport News area. I grew up in that vicinity with her, and glad that we've reconnected, and glad to have you here today in the VIP section is where you are today. Okay, glad to have you here on the show. Angeline said mistake. Oh, okay. Girl, I was looking at what is WOWL. I don't know. I was like, I don't know, but okay, WOW. Wow. All right. It's all good. All right. Right after this commercial break, we're going to hear more from Terry Brinston as she tells us what the message is that she wants people to know from her book, Grateful for the Journey, how she survived COVID-19. Right when we come back.
My father had 4 of his fingers amputated in a workplace accident. It was the first injured individual I represented. And I knew I had to win that case. When someone walks into my office and they've been injured, I know what they're going through. If you've been injured at work with Hunter and Everett. We've got the experience, so let us help you.
All right, everyone, and we're back with Terry Brinston. Let me also let you all know right before we hear from you, Terry, that we do have Lamb Funeral Home as our episode sponsor as well. And they are located in the Concord, North Carolina area, but they're certified in all 50 states. So if you're dealing with funeral home needs and you want to be able to talk to a caring funeral home service, then make sure you reach out to them at 704-782-3011. They have over 28 years of funeral home business experience. And Mr. Terry Lamb, right there in the red and blue tie, he actually is a veteran. So he's able to share with you the ins and outs, more than I've heard most people be able to know, the ins and outs of veteran benefits. So give them a call today at 704-782-3011 and let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way. All right, so tell us what the message is that you want people to know, Terry, as we prepare to bring this episode to a close.
Oh, there's so many messages. I think one of the major ones is for people to really look at your life and try to see the threads, the connections. I think, I know that the Lord can, he knows the future. He can see around the corner, but we can only look backwards. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm encouraging people to look backwards at their life and to really recognize the messages that the Lord is telling you. I've gone through things over and over again, and I'm thinking now I can look back and say, oh, that's because I wasn't getting it.
Right? It's like, oh, is that what that meant? I didn't even catch that.
Right. I wonder why this keeps happening. And so I was really very clearly, I could see different patterns problems, different things I kept doing over and over and over. Another thing I think I would like to share is that if you have children, to share your stories with your children. I think our children, they see us where we are right now, but they have no idea the journey that we took to get to where we are. And I think that, but by being transparent with my children, they see me as a human, but more than that, they see their self as being capable of getting through the hard times. And so, yes, share your story with your children and and then listen to how they receive it. I learned so many things about my boys through my story. And I recognize the things that they went through, they had to go through them to get where they are right now. And so they were able to connect with that as well. So all of that, I do write about that in my book as well.
Wow. Okay. I am so excited about it. We're going to take one more brief commercial break and we're going to come back and close out right after this.
When someone has lost a loved one, they want to know what exactly happened. They want to know, is the other person going to be held responsible? And they want closure. At Hunter and Everett, we help clients that have lost a loved one move on and to do that with dignity and respect that they deserve.
All right. I took a quick commercial break like that abruptly, Terry, only because I have an appointment with my children today, a doctor's appointment, right? And I was like, they're calling, or I'm right in the middle of the show, but you can't miss the doctor's appointment, right? I was like, huh? They're calling. And again, this show is about how you balance different aspects of your lives. So as we know, there are going to be some real life balance moments right in the midst of the show sometime, or it really wouldn't be about balance, right? So Terry, I think as we do close out, I do want to hear from you. What is the most, when you were going through being in the hospital for 29 days and you have been on a ventilator, near death experience, you have your book, you have your journal, you have your husband, and he's trying to encourage you through this, your siblings, they're trying to, your family members, they're trying to support you. What was the biggest takeaway from your perspective? Because it's one thing for other people to encourage you, but what did you do to encourage yourself to get to where you are, in your opinion?
Oh, yeah. One of the things while I was in the hospital, this was after I left the ICU, and I was in my room because I had to learn how to walk again and a lot of different things. Energy was very low, and I was having such a crazy pity party, right? I'm like, oh, this is, 20 days at that point. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. And it was just me. Why am I doing this? Lord, here you are. What did I do wrong? Why are you punishing me? And I kept hearing over the loud, over the announcement, code respiratory to room so-and-so. And so it was just code after code after code. And so, knowing that this was people who were going on the vent and people who were having respiratory issues because of COVID.
Right.
And so in this room, this very small room, people were not coming in. They're just walking by. The Lord said, do something. I felt like he just wanted me to pray. And I started praying for the families who were starting the journey. I started praying for the nurses. I started praying for the doctors. I started praying for all the patients that were on the floor. And then I just started praying for our world because I was, looking at the news and things like that. And so the biggest thing is I recognized that I took my eyes off me and I put my eyes on the Lord, and I knew that this is what he wanted me to do. And sometimes when I was praying for this nurse, and my voice was very low because I was very hoarse.
Right.
But she knew what I was doing. And I just held her hand and I prayed for her, and she cried and I cried. And I don't know, I just handed it over to God. And I recognized that in my life that's what I need to do. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm just going to let God. And I started to really, just recognize that, God he's everything. So yeah, that was
God is. That's everything right there. God is. Y'all, you heard it right here from Terry Brinston. And I know you had some memory loss, but what's your favorite food? Did you remember what your favorite food was?
French fries.
So you came out and you started eating some French fries. You didn't lose that memory.
French fries and tomato soup.
French fries and tomato soup. Okay.
Weird.
Wow. I'm really grateful that you came here on the Kim Jacobs Show today. You have been a tremendous blessing. And if everyone else enjoyed today's broadcast, just put a heart emoji, hashtag Terry Brinston. Let's get at least the name Terry Brinston trending today. Terry Brinston. Hashtag it and put it everywhere so people can learn more about this beautiful spirit who still walks on this earth with us in her angelic form. So I'm really grateful that God allowed you to be here. And I am going to close out this episode, but I do want to make sure that you all know that tune in tomorrow. We're going to have a young lady that's talking about entrepreneurship, innovation, how to be an innovative entrepreneur. And then we're going to also talk with young lady, Dr. Josephine Harris, and she's going to be talking about how faith changed her focus. Faith changed her focus, and she will be right here on the Kim Jacobs Show on January 6th. And then we have our Freestyle Friday experts. And y'all know Freestyle Friday, the panel of speakers that come on, they are off the chain. So you don't want to miss any episode that's coming up this week. And I am so grateful that you blessed us with your presence today, Terry Brinston. God bless you.
God bless you.
All right, stay backstage. I'll talk to you in a minute. Everybody have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Kim Jacobs Show.
Amen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Jacobs, host of the Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world one household at a time. Listen, we go live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I bring guests on that talk about their backstories, things that they've had to overcome to become who they are today. Many of them are balancing and juggling life, and they've become experts in different fields. So they're sharing tips with you to make your life just a little bit easier. Many times as a guest in the studio audience, you'll get a chance to walk away with a missing piece of the puzzle that might be missing in your life. Let's go on this journey together, and I look forward to seeing you Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on The Kim Jacobs Show.